I'm so honored to be in this august company, presence of really amazing people. Because one of the agendas we had in this symposium was also to identify some change makers, right? Who will be taking up this cause of well-being and community well-being and health co-design for the next 20, 30, 50 years. It may be in a very tiny way under a people tree somewhere not known to internet that Liam was talking about, or it may be at a policy scale, working at the level of the planning commission, what is now called the Niti Aayog. Neither is something that we will call not important. Probably both are important, and we have a great collection of people here. There are some people here who also want to share a little bit, maybe 30 seconds to 1 minute to 2 minutes, on what they do as an individual, what brought them here. If it is something you want to do and you thought that the mic didn't come to you for doing that, mic is available for you to share. Only thing is, we don't want to make it mechanical or a kind of biodata description of what I do. Anything other than that, if you can make it like a wonderful story that the roti became the jalebi, something like that. If you can say something like that, how the roti became a jalebi, If you can talk about your work like that, then it will be music for everybody's ears, because it's already a little closer to the end of the day. So if you have any technology of storytelling by which a roti became a jalebi, there was an example here, then the mic will come to you. Mic will anyway come to you if you ask for it. I'll give it to you, Mahipalji, in a little while. Let me sort of invite two people. One is, of course, Soham India, Dr. Saab from Himachal Pradesh. He'll speak. But before that, I want to invite a very special guest. I don't know how he landed up here today. His name is Sachin Sachar. And
don't put me on a pedestal.
Huh?
Don't put me on a pedestal.
Pedestal? What pedestal? Where pedestal? Do you anybody see a pedestal here? I threw it out. इससे और क्या pedestrian हो सकता है? Because he thinks he is a master of puns.
I'm loud enough.
No, but we still give you the mic.
I'll just share one nuance.
Only one?
I
know it cannot end with one.
So because we spoke so much about care, I thought it merits to mention that mango as a fruit. So Liam, for you, one of the names of mango in many of our languages is actually keri. So like people who can create fun are called funny. So people who care can be called caring. So you are much like the mango. So I think that's enough. Good enough to sort of.
Is that enough for Chirag and Praveen and Garbit? Is that enough, or should he go on?
They want you to
Go
on. They want you to carry on.
Carry
on.
Okay, I'll sort of keep my introduction brief because otherwise it might just take a day. My name is Sachin. I'm a friend of Vijay, and I'm a disciple of Mazi and many others. By a major part of my practice, I'm actually a museum and an exhibition designer. But मैं थोड़ा हिंदी में भी बोलूँ?
बिल्कुल, please. I'll translate. We'll translate.
But over the last 12 years or so now, 13 years, I have been wearing 5 different professional hats. My work spans in 5 very distinct yet interrelated domains of practice. So other than museum and exhibition design, I'm also an installation maker. People call me an installation artist, but I think I'm more of a maker at heart. I like making things with my hands, and I've tried to make some sense out of it through creating installations. My little studio, which is based out of Delhi, it has converted into a small maker's space, but not the conventional maker space where you have 3D printing labs, etc., etc. It is essentially a space where हम बनाते बनाते डिजाइन करते हैं और डिजाइन करते करते बनाते हैं. हैं, दोनों जुदा नहीं है एक दूसरे से. So as a rule, we don't work on projects where we are designing in isolation. It has also converted into a very large material archive. I think I can claim with some modesty that perhaps it's one of the largest archives, personal archives that the country has. But my larger work over the last 8 years has largely been in knowledge, rediscovering traditional knowledge and re-articulating traditional knowledge. So within that larger framework, I have also been teaching mostly at IIT and some institutes in Delhi. But my larger research over the last 2 decades has been around the traditional knowledge systems of India, largely understood through its material culture and craft practices. And within that larger theme and framework, I have been focusing on collecting 3 things. Paribhasha, Paddhati और सिद्धांत. So I've been collating definitions of various kinds, creating newer definitions, articulating processes and re-articulating processes, because भारत में ना हर चीज की एक पद्धति है, ऐसा मुझे समझ में आया है. एक साथ बैठने की पद्धति है, सुनने की पद्धति है, कहने की पद्धति है, सोचने की पद्धति है, बनाने की तो पद्धतियां हैं ही बहुत. और मुझे इतना समझ आया कि अगर पद्धति हम सही पकड़ लेते हैं तो रूप अपने आप सही निकल आते. सो इंडिया हैज दिस एक्सटेंसिव कल्चर of articulating processes for anything and everything. There is a process to listening, hearing, talking, discussing, debating. So there is a distinct Indian idiom of everything. There is an idiom of designing a health science. There is an idiom of designing a way of thinking. There is an idiom of designing objects, and so on and so forth. And definitions are very critical. I think Indians, perhaps general to my knowledge, these 2 cultures are masters of defining things, because the way I define something paves my way of engaging with that thing. आप मेरे दोस्त हैं या दुश्मन, इस परिभाषा से निर्धारित होगा कि मेरी यात्रा आगे आपके साथ कैसे गुजरेगी. तो so I have found some amazing set of definitions. To give you an example, जैसे भारतीय भाषाओं में, it's interesting, संस्कृत में ना use के लिए कोई शब्द ही नहीं है. So there is no word for using in Sanskrit. So to give you an example, use this pen to write on a piece of paper. What's the closest word आपको संस्कृत में क्या शब्द आएगा? इस पेन से क्या करो पेपर पे? Can you think of any word?
लिखती.
नहीं, लिखती तो लिखना है, but if I want to say use this pen to write on this paper, use के लिए आप क्या कहेंगे? इस पेन का क्या करो? इस्तेमाल उर्दू का लफ्ज है, वैसे संस्कृत का नहीं है. उपयोग. हाँ, उपयोग is the closest word. एक्सपेरिमेंट को संस्कृत में क्या बोलते हैं? प्रयोग. किसी के साथ देने को संस्कृत में क्या बोलते हैं? सहयोग. हाँ, इंडस्ट्री को संस्कृत में क्या बोलते हैं? उद्योग. कुछ अच्छा वाक्य हो जाए समय में तो उसे क्या बोलते हैं? संयोग. So if you notice carefully, all these are nothing but forms of yoga. तो शब्द के माध्यम से हम एक भावना को धारण करते हैं. Through the word, we actually imbibe a certain energy. It's imperative, you cannot escape it. So it's not that I use the pen to write on a piece of paper. The pen and this existence go on a journey together to leave a mark on a piece of paper. तो परिभाषा की इतनी अहमियत है, इसलिए भारतीय और बहुत सारी शैलियां हैं भारत में परिभाषित करने की चीजों की. मैं अभी किसी को आपके साथ ही था, योगी बैठे थे, हम उदाहरण दे रहे थे कि भारत में मैं गुजरात में एक व्यक्ति से मिला. सो आई मेट वन पर्सन, ही इज लाइक एन एडोनिस, वेरी गुड लुकिंग मैन, बट उनका नाम है गंदा भाई. गंदा मीन्स डर्टी, शैगी. देयर इज अ रीजन व्हाई ही हैज बीन गिवन अ नेम लाइक दैट. देयर इज अ प्लांट, उसका औषधि तत्व बहुत ज्यादा है, तो उसका नाम है कुत्रो. उसका मतलब ये कुत्ता है. So it means a dog, because what happens is there's a principle which talks of something common to all beautiful things in this world. What is characteristic to everything beautiful is that it channelizes your consciousness for a small amount of time towards itself. हिंदी में एक कहावत है, बच्चा, चंद्र, सागर और पुष्प, इन चारों पे नजर जाती ही जाती है. आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते. अभी हम इतनी सीरियस सी बात कर रहे हैं, अगर बच्चा है, छोटा सा बच्चा यहाँ आ जाए, भले ही 4 सेकंड के लिए, हम सबकी नजर उस पे चली ही जाएगी.
Just translate that. James couldn't resist the allure of the ocean in Pondicherry a few days back. So Sachin is saying that a child, the moon, a flower, and the ocean, it draws your attention immediately.
And that is characteristic to every. So the definition of beauty lies in the ability of an entity to channelize your consciousness towards it for whatever duration of time. So and it happens through root, it happens through form, it happens through the energy embodiment. Some people may not have the most gorgeous of the gorgeous forms, but it will be very difficult. ये बैठे होंगे तो मेरा ध्यान इन पे जाएगा ही जाएगा. By the virtue of a certain energy resonance that is being caused by him or by her. So, sorry, I lost my train of thoughts.
Bacha, Chand,
किसकी बात की?
before that.
गंदा भाई.
हाँ, गंदा भाई नाम की बात हो रही है. हाँ, तो ठीक उसी प्रकार से, तो उसका एक कारण ये है that the moment I give you a name which is contradictory to the energy interactions that your form is going to create, I cannot avoid it. If a सलमान खान, मैंने एक बार सलमान खान को एक फैशन शो में देखा था, बाप रे वो इतना नूर है उसके चेहरे. हम उसे क्वेश्चन कर सकते हैं बहुत अलग अलग पॉइंट से, बट वो फॉर्म में तो जबरदस्त नूर है. मतलब भले ही वो 4 seconds, if a Chris Hemsworth walks here, my energy will be sort of channelized towards him, and then I might sort of get back to Vijay or myself. Or
That's good comparison.
yeah. So what happens is when you create a name is an embodiment of energy. That name counters the effect of so many energy interactions that form otherwise will be subjected. Anyone who is a celebrity, the kind of burden they have to bear by being subjected to every Tom, Dick and Harry around them, wanting to engage with them even when they don't want, is actually it's a limitation of their form. They can't avoid it. So you create a name and it counters the effect. Then there is another style or another Shaili, another idiom of nomenclature in which you make something embody a name which makes you go beyond its gross manifestation. So to give you an example, fecal matter, mal. So one of the words used in Indian languages is mal, but the other name for mal is vishtha. So vishtha, the word vishtha, V is an upsarg, it's a prefix. V means special. Science is called Vigyan. So, so there is something called as a root word, stha. Stha is the dhatu. Stha means sthir hona, to be stable. So, मूर्ति विस्थापित की जाती है. स्थान भी उसी से आता है. तो ऐसा कोई भी अस्तित्व जो एक विशेष प्रक्रिया से गुजरकर स्थिर हो जाए, उसे विष्ठा बोलते हैं. So, because there is nothing in nature which is waste. So the notion of mal is that it should be discarded, but fecal matter is not a waste. No, extensive amount of work has been done in the Indian context and worldwide. Actually, India does not have the exclusive copyright on having a relationship with the world around it. Pre-industrial age, the entire world was living with that ethos. I think the blessing of being in India is the fact that we are still a living culture. We are still living in the continuum of that. However deviated, adaptive or corrupted we are. अब मैं इतना ही बोलता हूँ.
Fantastic. In India, there is one word called Sakshi Bhav. How many of you have heard this word, Sakshi Bhav? Somebody has been practicing that since morning. That is called being a witness. Can anybody tell me who has been the witness? Other than each one of you, but somebody also has been a witness and I'll oppose witness. I'll pass the mic to Mr. Witness. The mic comes to you. James.
Wow. Okay. That was a surprise. I have been a witness. Thank you for your story there. So I do have to speak tomorrow. I do not want to burden your ears with my tones, although maybe it's a way for you to attune to me. my name's James, and I work with Liam, and we've been here for about 2 weeks now. We did a series of workshops, one extended workshop with IIT and other members of the public last week here. And in fact, Liam sort of introduced you to a little bit of a process at the end of his talk, whereby you would start a workshop, for example. So we were doing a lot of that with people here. And it was in the context of, the wider description of the symposium here. Specifically, we were, it was called
Design for
situational and relational practice or something. Anyway, so and then we went to Pondicherry, and we went to Oroville, and we went to Chennai, and we went to temples, and we went to street sides and had food, and we walked footed in temples on the road. It's been quite a multi-sensory experience. It's been a very embodied experience. We're very fortunate to have actually been witness to all of that also. So certainly don't want to objectify you in this room today or the talks, but it's in all of that context, which has been good, and thinking forwards about a bigger collaboration with Chari and various other people in the grant, the SPARC grant. So do you want me to reflect on the day? It's just say anything.
No, it's okay.
So I thought at the beginning of the day I would say something to you, and that would be my bit done for today. So thanks for that, Chari. Thank you all for being late-ish, so that we rushed the beginning maybe, I don't know. But in that context of not, I'm not going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift what I was going to do this morning into tomorrow, so you better come back tomorrow. So what I noticed a lot about today was the clear expertise that Liam was mentioning in his little conversation with you, and how the day has sort of been this sort of, I guess, movement of different kinds of relationships that you all have with how you all conceive of care, how you've all been trained to conceive of care, how you've all been, I guess, obliged to deliver or plan for or share how you want to care for the world. It's a very personal project. What you're involved in. Health, super personal. But you're often asked to sort of think about it in much bigger scales, of course. Like Liam was saying, that designers can come in and focus on, well, is this going to fall off or not? Or is this guy going to come down or not? In healthcare settings, you probably have similar questions. And it's informed by who you are, where you're from. And I think that I really liked your little talk there, because it resonates strongly with my own work. Again, I'll say more about that tomorrow. But yeah, those sort of different, I don't really like the word scales, because it suggests that everything should become big. And I know you're all very smart and educated and experienced and wise, and I'm sure you're aware of the small things in life as well as the big things. But the beauty of this room is that there is all that scalarity of relationships going on within your own knowledge systems. How these can come into a relationship with each other is a really interesting question. And maybe that's why anything called design is ever in a room with anything called healthcare. And there's assumptions and misapprehensions maybe made about both these things all the time, such as designers come in and fix things, or maybe they don't, maybe you've got other ideas about designers, or equally, healthcare professionals come in and fix things. But maybe we don't do that. maybe that happens sometimes, and maybe, you know, being university educators as Parag and Aditi and Shari and perhaps all of you are in different ways as parents, as leaders, as learners, biggest thing we are all in life perhaps. Now I've lost my train of thought. The things that we know and are desperate to share with the world are super personal, going back to what I was trying to say. And how we learn to communicate that with other people is a lot harder than us just really caring about it, to use the word care in a different way, because we do care for the world we live in, I hope. I think most of us do. And we care that we make a difference often, usually. We want to make a difference. But in the context of designers and health professionals, and hands up, I'm not actually a designer. Not only in the sense that I will explain to you tomorrow I am, but I would also say, you know, I'm many other things. But yeah, how do people work together, basically? And that concept of co-design is really, you know, it's an English word as far as I'm aware, or what's the word, contraction or something. And, you know, co suggests with. Liam mentioned that earlier. We're always trying to educate, to encourage people to be in the world in ways that they're with things and people, and not like doing to all the time. And that's a common issue, I'm sure, in health. We're all trained to think about democracy and, you know, not living in such a top-down world. So in relation to co-with, the other thing we talked about with the workshop in relation to that was how that actually means collaboration. So yeah, we're all with each other in a room right now. We may or not be successfully collaborating. I think we're all learning something. But if we wanted to tackle a problem together, how do we even agree what the problem is? And again, and maybe that's another misconception in design and health, that there's a very obvious problem because it manifests in a particular way. But like, what's been the cause of that? The other thing we did, of course, with the group last week was we did this exercise called the River of Life, and got people to think about the life course and thinking about an issue that they were concerned with, and then using that metaphor to think about, well, what's the source of that issue, and then how does it, you know, manifest in down river, etc., and the ocean, if you like, being the sort of preferred outcome. Now, each place on that river, there's an intersection where other things come into play with each other, and I think I see the beginning of how, I mean, we are not experts about India, and we are not coming here to tell you what to do, and you know about your situation. But I think one of the things we all deal with is in institutions, whether it's in a health institution, an education institution, a political institution, a family institution, with all the social density that comes with that, how to decide how to collaborate on what at the right time and for the right people is actually really hard. Even the language I'm using there already makes it a problem. I've already biased it by saying the right people at the right time. So anyway, I look forward to tomorrow, and I loved, my final comments would be about how we started with the really strong emphasis on Indigenous knowledge, traditional systems, which is obviously as, where was our first speaker? I don't know, she's not here.
She's not here.
But you know, her, you know, talking about this thing is time tested, and often we don't trust that enough, of course, because we expect different instrumentation to validate things. I always tell people, whether I'm doing a creative project or an education project, the most precious thing you have is time, and I don't mean that loosely. Time is the key sort of benchmark for most things in our human experience. And I think that kind of knowledge, how it's passed on through generations, is really important. So thank you also for sharing what you shared today as well. And then how that builds up. You know, Liam finished off with this sort of picture of like how ultimately this is all within this one system of knowledge is also in relation to other systems of knowledge which are in other locations of other systems. And that's the complexity that we're always dealing with. In design, I think there's a phrase that you might have heard of called wicked problems, about how things seemingly are intractable, how the tangible in one place doesn't appear so tangible in the other because of different factors and actors at play. So that, you know, thinking about that shift in your presentation towards actually these overlapping paradigms is really an important part of thinking, of setting a framework even with project planning kind of frameworks like Liam showed, or with other knowledge systems that we shared earlier in the day. So how do we get into a space together where there is the respect, the responsibility, the reciprocity, the relevance, maybe the biggest R word in there, the relevance, along with respect, I would argue. So that's what I've enjoyed about that, just sort of getting my own sort of sense of how you all have this expertise that I certainly would not try and confound at all.
Thank you so much, James.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Charlie.
I think Daman Ahuja wanted to share very briefly about Soham India and his work at Soham India. And Karthikeya Mudgal wanted to pose some questions or have a dialogue with Dr. C.V. Desai. I know that many of us may want to have many one-on-one conversations with Dr. C.V. Desai. Before I give it to Daman Saab, 1 minute, please sit down. How many of you would like to have an extended session with Dr. C.V. Desai? Any of you here? Karthikeya and Aishwarya, Nalini, Surinder, somebody there? Yeah, Yogi, 5. Okay, so we can set up, if it's 5 or 5 plus 2 plus 3 or whatever. Once we conclude this session for the day, we can have an extended session after, you know, there's no obligation to stay. People can move on because they may have other commitments, but we can have a session, which was what we were thinking yesterday, of an informal extended session with Dr. Desai after formal session gets over today. So anybody is welcome to stay on. Definitely these hands that went up. Now Dr. Daman Ahuja, who is from Soham, India. Name, please.
सबको नमस्कार और मैं बहुत आनंद में हूँ इस समय जिस तरह का ये वर्कशॉप का डिज़ाइन किया गया है सुबह से, और जिस तरह से मैं प्रोफेसर विजय को देख रहा हूँ, मैं पहली बार मिल रहा हूँ, इससे पहले मैं कभी मिला नहीं। पिछले 30 साल से मैं पब्लिक हेल्थ, कम्युनिटी हेल्थ में काम कर रहा हूँ।
He's working for last 30 years in the field of public health.
मुझे मौका मिला नेशनल एड्स कंट्रोल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में काम करने का, मुझे मौका मिला नेशनल हेल्थ मिशन में काम करने का, यूनिसेफ में काम करने का, यूएसएड के प्रोजेक्ट में काम करने का, मुझे मौका मिला कैलाश सत्यार्थी के साथ में काम करने का। जानते होंगे काफ़ी सारे लोग नोबेल लॉरिएट हैं इंडिया के। स्वामी अग्निवेश के साथ में काम करने का मौका मिला, और इस देश को 3 बार सरकारी खर्च पे जाने का मौका मिला मुझे। मैं इसको ब्लेसिंग मानता हूँ। और इतने सारे उपक्रम के बाद में जिस तरह की कार्यशाला आज यहाँ पे ऑर्गेनाइज की गई है, जिस तरह से इसको प्रेजेंट किया जा रहा है, और जो ग्रुप कोहेसिवनेस इस समय हम महसूस कर रहे हैं, पहले तो उसके लिए मैं साधुवाद देना चाहता हूं आपको। कमाल किया है। मतलब एक छोटी से छोटी चीज को लेकर के, जूस से लेके, खाने से लेके, आपके गले में पहनने वाले आपके परिचय पत्र को लेकर के, तमाम छोटी से छोटी, और हर चीज रेजोनेट कर रही है आपके भीतर से, कहीं आपके हायर सेल्फ से। सोहम इंडिया बस ऐसा ही कुछ कहानी है। जैसे हम सब लोग को सिखाया जाता है सफलता का पैमाना क्या है, पढ़ाई लिखाई, एक बढ़िया पद, एक गाड़ी, एक घर, एक सुंदर बीवी, 2 बच्चे, बैंक बैलेंस, और उसके बाद में घूमना। ये एक आम परिभाषा है, हर व्यक्ति इसके लिए ललायत रहता है। ईश्वर कृपा से, या जो नहीं मानते हैं एथिस्ट हैं, हम कहेंगे उस एनर्जी की कृपा से हमें भी मिला। स्टिल कहीं ना कहीं हमें ये और खोज थी कि हाउ टू बी हैप्पी फॉर एवरी टाइम एंड हर समय। आई वॉज वर्किंग इन यूएसए वर्कशॉप project, so I left my job. I went to Himachal Pradesh, and I thought that I would start with some orphan children. And it was a long story, cut short. There were 3 children whose father has shot his mother in front of their eyes, and then shot himself. There were 2 children who have, a mother and a father of different age, and they do not know whose progeny are they. There are another 2 children who had one of their mother in their home, and their father brought another woman in the home. And these are all traumatic experiences. And I was into a little bit of finding my own happiness. From there, we worked with 16 of these children for 10 years, and today they are all well settled, married, and they do have their own children. And then I thought, what is that which made them settle? उसके बाद में हमें ये महसूस हुआ कि ये जो इनके साथ में हमने काम किया है, पढ़ाई लिखाई, बोर्डिंग, लॉजिंग, हेल्थ, रिक्रिएशन, वोकेशनल एजुकेशन, जो नॉर्मल एक प्रोजेक्ट का हिस्सा होते ही हैं, में ऐसा क्या था कि जो इनके साथ में हम लोग कर पाए और ये अपने ट्रॉमेटिक एक्सपीरियंसेस से बाहर आ गए। एंड दैट वाज माइंडफुलनेस। देन आई मेड इट अ मिशन कि वेरेवर आई वुड वर्क प्रोफेशनली in my service, कि माइंडफुलनेस को तो यूज करना है। और माइंडफुलनेस को हमने अपना लक्ष्य बनाते हुए उसके बाद सोहम इंडिया को कंसीव किया। सोहम एक सेपरेट वर्ड है। दोज ऑफ यू यहाँ पे काफ़ी सारे लोग बहुत ज्ञाता हैं, जानकारी रखते हैं। एक संस्कृत ये मंत्र है, जब हम ब्रीद इन करते हैं, वॉइस is called so, and when we breathe out there is a voice called hum. But इसका abbreviated form था, और abbreviated form ये था, it is social orientation to human aspirations through meditation. So, and that was the name of the orphanage that we opened. In 2014 we closed it because all the children, 16 children, were above the age of 17 years and they are all settled now. And then I took it challenge to come to my professional life again and then spread this word of Soham India through the mindfulness. And now I am working with young people, and on young people we are working on their growing up healthy. When a child transforms to adult, there is a hormonal change. There is a lot of questions among these young people. Why this is happening to me? Why this? Why that? Why that? So that is the first topic. And the second is, there is a lot of societal and familial pressure to them, and they go into mental health problems sometimes. And with these mental health problems, they may land up in some kind of drugs, alcoholism, or rudeness, or violence, or something as an escape route. So we work with that. And then nutrition is another issue. And then drugs, HIV, AIDS. And the last, how to make people, being happy without making reels. यंग लोगों का आज बहुत बड़ा क्रेज है, वायरल हो जाए, रील्स बना रहे, कितने लाइक्स आ गए, डिसलाइक्स आ गए, बुलिंग हो गई, and most of their time goes into the social media. So that is also a topic we take. And with all these topics through the mindfulness approach, this is all about social media. धन्यवाद आपको कि आपने मंच प्रदान किया और ऐसे लोगों की संगति प्रदान की.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ahuja. We have time for 2 more, and then, if you don't mind, we'll have more time again tomorrow. I would like to invite Gur Iqbal. Gur Iqbal leads Civic Action Labs. Gur is also one of the younger people in this room, and one of the objectives of this symposium also was to discover 50 change makers whom we as a group, to whatever extent we can, will support for the next 5, 10, 20 years. Yeah. And Guru has brought some amazing people to this symposium, but I would like Guru to share a little bit of what he feels like and a little bit about Civic Action Labs. Please, Guru, please go.
Thank you, Professor Vijay. So I think the feeling is very mutual among all that it was quite a wholesome day and quite holistic learnings that has happened. And there is again a lot of not only food for body but food for thought also today that I'm sure that we might have collected. Yeah, we have been running this organization called Civic Action Labs, where we basically we have worked in political outreach and campaigns since last 7-8 years, which has allowed us to reach last mile of the diverse country India in many states, and we realized a lot of similarities, patterns, complexities, diversities, but all so beautifully designed, that it's like a automated, choreographed dance happening, where you can't figure out what is happening where, but you can just enjoy it. But then we figured out, again, like there's a lot of conversation about the traditional knowledge and indigenous thing. So we realized that there are a lot of gaps happening, and there were a lot of knowledge portals, which I would like to call, they are existing in the grassroots somewhere. And the people, the so-called social sectors, this philanthropy, NGOs and stuff is happening. But there are people, real people doing real job somewhere in the corner of this country. So we thought of navigating into this, and beyond political work, we started looking at society in general, and started this think tank recently, which is called the Possibility Project, where we're trying to figure out the human experience in society, in culture, in polity, and in environment, ecology, to that matter. So this is broadly the work we are trying to navigate. It's a very recent project we started since just a month ago. And we are working in the research field mostly, working in the policy with government, and these all learnings which we are trying to build a bridge between the policy. After traveling so far, working in so many campaigns, reaching out to more than I think 30-40% of the India's population in a campaign so far, we realize that there's a disaster level gap, and that is where we might feel these, this apart from this wholesome feeling, there is also like, okay, there's so much wisdom exists. Why is not part of the, organized, institutionalized things? So we are trying to work on that. I don't know how things will work, but we are trying our own best. So yeah, that's the thing, and we enjoyed today's talk.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Anybody else? It's now around 5:10 p.m. and ideally we would like to slowly wind down. And what better way to wind down than with a small piece of soulful music. We began with a beautiful dance. I don't know whether Sachin was here when the dance happened. Yeah, Dhanvantari Shlokam. Now we'll end with a Tamil piece, and my better half is here since morning, Kaushalya. I'll request her to make a small offering of a Tamil piece. It's called Shanti Nilava Vendum. May peace, eternal peace prevail. Yeah, and I'll turn the mic. It's a short song, after which the program for today is formally over. Those who wish to stay with Dr. Desai for an extended conversation or welcome.
So it's in one line I have to say what this piece means, because I don't think any of you will understand Tamil. It says, let the outer world and the inner world be peaceful, and I aspire for the world peace. Yeah? Shanti Nilava Vendum. There has to be peace existing everywhere. Shanti Nilava Vendum. Shanti Nilava Vendum. Ulagile Shanti Nilava Vendum. Ulagile Shanti Nilava Vendum. Atma Shakti Onga Vendum. Ulagile Shanti Nilava Vendum. Gandhi Mahatma Kattalai Aduve. Gandhi Mahatma Kattalai Aduve. Karunai Ottrumai Kadiroli Paravi. Karunai Ottrumai Kadiroli Paravi. Shanti Nilava Vendum. கொடுமை செய்தியோர் மனமது திறந்த நற்குணம் அதில் புகட்டிடுவோம். கொடுமை செய்தியோர் மனமது திறந்த நற்குணம் அதில் புகட்டிடுவோம். மடமை அச்சம் அறுப்போம் மக்களின் மாசிலா நல்லொழுக்கம் வளர்ப்போம். மடமை அச்சம் அறுப்போம் மக்களின் மாசிலா நல்லொழுக்கம் வளர்ப்போம். திடம் தரும் அஹிம்சா யோகினம் தந்தை ஆத்மானந்தம் பெறவே. திடம் தரும் அஹிம்சா யோகினம் தந்தை ஆத்மானந்தம் பெறவே. கடமை மறவோம் அவர் கடன் தீர்ப்போம். களங்கமின் அறம் வளர்ப்போம். கடமை மறவோம் அவர் கடன் தீர்ப்போம். களங்கமின் அறம் வளர்ப்போம். எங்கும் சாந்தி நிலவ வேண்டும். எங்கும் சாந்தி நிலவ வேண்டும். உலகிலே சாந்தி நிலவ வேண்டும். ஆத்ம சக்தி ஓங்க வேண்டும். உலகிலே சாந்தி. உலகிலே சாந்தி. உலகிலே சாந்தி நிலவ வேண்டும் எங்கும் சாந்தி எங்கும் சாந்தி எங்கும் சாந்தி.
Day is formally complete. Thank you everybody for giving your heart, soul, time, love, affection, everything.